here we are. This is Sex Love Psychedelics, and I'm your host, Dr. Kat. Bringing you psychosexual conversations that will leave you intellectually turned on and hungry for more.
There.
Exactly.
When you do shadow work, what does that look like?
Shadow work for me, it's not that it's one thing or one process. It's the daily, it's the discipline of checking in with myself every day, of being honest with how I feel, and of, having systems of support and rituals and things that I can do to help move through that. So like sometimes that looks like meditation with a cord cutting. Sometimes it looks like, some kind of rage practice and like shaking and screaming or whipping my bed with a towel. Sometimes it is, like a meditation with a certain goddess, or talking to my dom, who's also a devotee of the goddess and the dark goddess. And she like helps me some of my boundaries. Like it's, not necessarily one thing, and it can be like writing a letter, whatever it is. But I think for me, shadow work, big part of it is going to therapy regularly and keeping up with like just being honest with my mental health. That's been a big thing, but I really think it's a relationship I have with my shadow. And honestly, like a big part of that for me is kink, and it is BDSM, and especially like accepting that and doing, these things that help me accept how kinky I am, or the fact that I really am not satisfied by like vanilla sex 99% of the time. Like I think shame can be a really good kind of teacher for us. As to like where we need to kind of do this work with a lot of compassion. And I know for myself that, it's like the mix of being a prude and being a slut, and, how just releasing the past versions of myself that I no longer have to be in this incarnation.
Yeah. I love that. So it's really like a retrieval, becoming consciously aware of these parts of you that aren't socially acceptable or desirable. Yeah. And just really, really embodying and integrating that. And see, that's, that is how I define healings personally. It's like, I feel like there's this image in society that healing, or when you reach healing, it's like, you don't have any of these reactions anymore. You're like even keel all the time, but I see it more of like when these parts come up, like when I'm a fucking grouch, and I see it, I can own it and be like, okay, here we are again. I'm just going to self-regulate and be in my little grouch fest, knowing that this is here, not making it wrong or shameful and hiding it, but allowing it to be a part of me.
Yeah, exactly. I definitely relate. And I also feel like part of it's like, not doing the spiritual bypassing thing, right? Like our anger, our shame, our rage, our wildness, our grouchiness, like they're all parts of the human experience. They're all teachers. They're not any less sacred than our love and our light. And I do think that we, we are definitely at a weird time in like our spirit, in the spiritual journey as like a collective, because like, we live in a very capitalist, money driven society where everything is like sold to us. And like, yes, I feel very, very grateful for the accessibility of so many healing modalities for so many people. And also it's like healing is not, there's no end point. We're never going to be healed. Like life is literally just getting closer to death each day. There's going to be things that are hurting us and things we have to work through the rest of our lives. And I think that like feeling rushed towards healing or enlightenment can really take us out of just like our day to day, and also just makes us, at least from like my perspective, it like if you think you're going to be healed one day like completely, then like you're going to be less compassionate for yourself as you're healing, because your healing journey, like in my opinion, it's a journey. It never stops.
Yeah, you have your whole life to complete the curriculum. We don't
Yeah.
have to do it in a weekend retreat.
Yeah. And you know what? Maybe we have multiple lives, right? Like I just like something that I've definitely seen kind of in like the tradition of like Western magic that I study is that like people are like, I want to complete the great work in this life. Like I want to reach enlightenment in this life, which is like also very tantric. Like I recognize that, you know, like especially like Hindu Tantra was like a kind of fast-paced way to reach, you know, to jump off the wheels of reincarnation or whatnot. But it's also like, okay, but like what if we just don't reach that in this life? Like what if there is no rush and like I don't have to feel like I'm going to be enlightened in this life? And like what if I just do the work to be a better person for my own sake and for the sake of like the collective? And like what if I heal for myself in the sake of the collective instead of just like trying to like accomplish this thing so I might reach enlightenment even though I don't know what enlightenment is, you know, like, I don't know, just something I'm thinking about.
Yeah, I think of the same way. And if we go towards these parts of us, you know, that aren't socially acceptable with an agenda to get rid of them, does that make it harder to actually work with these parts?
Oh, yeah.
You know, do they become more elusive or do they become stronger and louder inside of us because we're trying to get rid of them?
Yeah. It's like, why get rid of them? We could just love them and just be like, hey, this is like part of the fucked up, weird, kinky, beautiful experience of life. Like, I'm just going to love the part of myself that gets angry, or I'm just going to love myself even if I've experienced this really horrible thing. And it doesn't mean that I have to like be grateful it happened. It means that I got to be grateful that I have today, even through that shitty thing. So it's definitely, it's difficult, but you know, that's why we come back to the spiritual practice, like make us better people. If it's not making you a better person and like more compassionate, what's the point, in my opinion?
Well, that was fun. Thanks for tuning in, lovers. And if you want to experience more ecstasy and sexual liberation, head over to sexlovepsychedelics.com and learn about how you can join me for any one of my online or live events. And while you're there, grab my free guide on sex and psychedelics. Remember, this podcast is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Please contact your healthcare provider and local law before pursuing any of the products or psychedelics discussed. And one final note here. I make this show specifically for you. If you're loving the show, then be sure to leave me a review in iTunes or Spotify to let me know. Happy to be here and happy to serve. I'll see you next time on Sex Love Psychedelics.